Hi, thanks for being here. I'm Daniel, and today I want to talk for a bit about what we see and what we look at. So I will start off by ourselves. That man in the middle is me, together with Yuki and Barbara. We work together on self-initiated projects and work for clients. And we just started, 1st of April. We travel with our agency, so every 2 months we are somewhere else. And we just moved, literally crossed over from the other side of the street from the Trouw building, where we were for 2 months, and now we are at Kickstart. Rockstart. We do Kickstart. And I want to ask you a question about the street, because this is a street that you just entered, or at least the building you entered on the left. And what I think is interesting about this street is that it seems so simple. It's just a street. But what I am curious in is how this street can be so many different streets for different people. So for instance, for me it's a street where we just have been working for 2 months in that building on the right. But maybe if you're a biologist, you completely are more focused on the trees that you see, or the green stuff around you. And then back again, if you, for instance, are working in security, or maybe in city stuff, you have a much more of a focus on this kind of elements. And then if you are more into human or in movement, you might see all the people that move there. And exactly that same thing you can also see from a more economic perspective and think like, hey, all those humans are actually people that I can make money of, or like they have a more economic role. And then if you look from that economic perspective, you might see that this is a street where there used to be many newspapers, and now none of them actually still is working as a newspaper, or at least not in these buildings. So that's a different perspective you might have from an economic standpoint. So what I find interesting is that this exact same street can have so many different things that you can look at. And that's weird, because I think a lot of times you kind of look at something and you think this is how it is, because this is what I see in it, but you don't even realize how subjective that reality might be. And that's something that I want to tell you a little bit more about. But I will start off by showing you some of the work that we've made. But before doing that, I actually want to read you a little bit about my crossovers as a child from up to here. Kind of feels weird to read as if I wrote an autobiography, but since you all came here, I assume it's not only for the coffee, so I will just read out. When I was 5, I went to school where children were allowed to choose to do whatever they wanted to do. It was great. I played all day long. When I was 9, my mother discovered that although I was having fun at school, I had never learned how to write nor read. It just hadn't occurred to me to sit down and grab a book. My parents became worried and brought me to another school with a more teacher-centered structure. In the meantime, my mother taught me how to read, and after so much playing outside, I got a hang on it and kept on reading. I had fun and discovered an awful lot. That was the same at high school. There were so many different classes like geography, but also grammar, that after school I was in the luxurious position of doing whatever I wanted to do. I played soccer, hockey, tennis, ice skating. A few weeks I even thought I would become a ninja kid. I did theater, programming, sculpture class, dancing class, you name it. And I remember that I couldn't decide what the one thing would be that I want to focus on. So what to do after high school? I started studying law because I thought maybe that way I would kind of learn how to live from like a case into, like look at the same case from different perspectives. But after a while I learned a lot on particular things, but noticed that I started missing a broader perspective. So I started following philosophy classes in the evening, and joined lectures on other topics. Most things I heard I didn't get, but because I didn't have any prior knowledge, I was constantly trying to find connections to make sense out of it. There was a downfall to this practice, because after a while I figured that this way I would always stay a student. So I decided that I want to go to Art Academy. I figured that it would be great to learn how to give shape to ideas instead of narrowing down your brain on one specific subject. And after Art Academy, that's what I kept on doing with pleasure. And we still do. And that history made me learn a few things. First, when you're in unknown territory, you are more likewise to be aware, because there is so much new to discover, so you're constantly looking around. Second, through doing many different things and joining different studies, I found out that what you see and don't see is largely influenced by your knowledge. And sometimes even a specialism on a certain topic can make you blind to all the things you actually can't see when you wouldn't know that. Did you get that? Maybe it was difficult. And last, my mother taught me how to read. And till this day, I really like to read. And sometimes some people need some external stimuli to learn something that when they discover they really like. So that might sound weird, because you would think if you would like it, then you would be interested from your own like motivation. But sometimes maybe you need to be a little bit forced to discover that. I told that because I think it tells something about the work that we now do and that I now made. But maybe I would just leave that up to you. I made a short overview of the projects that we've been working on that I want to show you. So I hope that the sound is working out well, and then you can have a see.
Een jaar geleden woonde ik voor 3 maanden aan de andere kant van de wereld. Ik liep stage op een reclamebureau in Japan. Elke ochtend stond ik met dezelfde zakenmannen te wachten op de metro. Het openbaar vervoer in Tokio rijdt ongelooflijk precies. Ook in de metro heerst orde. Het is er doodstil. Het was niet alleen de rust die mij verbaasde. Alles was anders. Ik had nooit verwacht dat leven zo verschillend geleefd kunnen worden. Of dat mensen en landen zo van elkaar kunnen verschillen. Die verschillen maakten de omgeving en mensen interessant. Maar terwijl voor mij alles bijzonder was, leek het erop dat de mensen om me heen in zulke vaste patronen leefden, dat er voor hun geen enkele reden meer was om op of om te kijken. Dat iets werd perspectief. Een spel waarin je speelt met de werkelijkheid. En met je vrienden. Voor elk level van perspectief moet je op zoek naar vormen. Het begint in Circlistic, het eerste level, met cirkels en wordt dan steeds moeilijker. Nadat je een vorm in je omgeving hebt gevonden, krijg je te zien hoe je vrienden deze vorm hebben vastgelegd. Aan deze foto's ken je punten toe door eerst de beste en daarna de ene beste foto te kiezen. Op Op dezelfde wijze krijg je zelf punten, waarmee je verder komt naar de volgende level. In een vertrouwde omgeving word je minder snel verleid om goed te kijken. Door dit spel wordt het alledaagse opeens een ontdekking. Het maakt niet uit waar je speelt, maar wat je ziet. Wereldreizigers verkenden vroeger de aarde, op zoek naar nieuw land. Ondertussen hebben we dat wel eens een beetje in kaart gebracht. De zoektocht vindt nu plaats op bekend terrein en de ontdekking wordt pas gedaan door opnieuw te kijken.
So that was what we made, or like the idea that we had, the game that you saw, the last thing you saw. And actually we made it because we noticed that when the people were playing that game in the tram, a lot of people were actually playing it, but there were some people that weren't, and those were the ones that were looking on their phones. And I thought that there's quite a difference between cultures, but the weird thing is that there's one thing that is so common, because when I was in the Netherlands I saw that happening, but when I was in Japan I saw that happening as well. So from there on we thought like, I thought, what can we kind of make that people that are looking at their phones can sort of through their phone be persuaded to look around again. So that's what we made with what is now called Kukulu, at the time was called Perspective, which was an awful lot of work to make it from concept, which it still was in this movie, to the idea that we just launched. Because what like this shows that a little bit. What we thought was, when you don't look to your surroundings, maybe with adding like a really simple element, just something round on your screen, that you would actually look to that environment again, but like look for that sort of category in your environment, so things that are round. But of course it's not necessarily about round things, it's more about how you, through a game, sort of are lured into looking, and thereby using a device that normally sort of stops you to look around. So after a while also you get to find other shapes and different missions. And what I found, like, we made this game, which was weird because this is kind of an industry that is very focused on a startup world, and we kind of didn't want to be a startup, but more of a sort of an idea that we realized. So it was a lot of work to do, but now it's out and people make like really beautiful images. At least that's what I think. I think this is something that maybe somebody wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for this game. So this is a picture that somebody took. This is a kid that his father was sort of painting him, and then after a while he realized, like, hey, kind of looks like a dot as well. And this is somebody that's actually playing it in traffic, which might be dangerous and absolutely not what we had in mind to do. I don't know if you all like got the idea of behind Kuklu, because it might be a little bit vague. We made a video which I can show to some of people that have like completely not enough an idea. Yeah, let me do that. Yeah, so, and that's why I want to show you some of the results, because it's one thing to make something, but I think that the coolest thing now is that other people sort of make things with that. At least that is pretty cool to look at, I feel. Because it also gives us sort of a peek into the lives of others. And what we do is Yuki interviews some of the people that take pictures. And since the only common thing is that there is something round in there, the stories behind there are really different from each other. So this is a story of a guy that was waiting for his girlfriend to not become pregnant, but how do you give birth? Yeah, exactly. It would be kind of weird if we would start making pictures. Well, some people do. And he was just waiting for that to happen. So then he was wandering around and suddenly like found this. And this is a image I find really beautiful, or picture, because it kind of shows exactly why we made it. Like you see some people sitting in subways, which I sometimes happen to do as well, just looking on their phones, kind of stop looking around. And then one person like saw that round thing in the middle. And here that's about that exact same thing, like a girl in London that made this picture. Yeah, this is also a story about children. I don't know, maybe we made something for children. This is a couple in America that couldn't give birth, so they decided to adopt a child, and they thought maybe it instead of like normally you say I'm pregnant, so they wanted to do that in a different way. So they showed this globe and told their friends, like, hey, we got a child. And then one of their friends thought, hey, that's a round thing. So it's, in a way, I don't know if that's a nice thing then, but I mean the story behind it. So in the end, the story that we heard due to that through that picture is nice. And this is a girl, and that's also something that we really like. That because if you take a picture with the game, afterwards you see 4 other images. So this is a picture that a girl took when she was at work, and I think she would normally never have made that image, and probably, I mean, she should have looked at that, because what is this is a perfume factory, and she told me that this was the robotic system that was kind of mixing the perfumes together. So like a really weird, because I first thought it was in a sort of a milking industry thing. So it is a nice kind of a peek into somebody else's life as well. This is a girl, she was a cashier. I don't know, is that the, yeah, that's the English word. And I guess one day she noticed like, hey, I'm surrounded by round things. Took a picture. Yeah, this could have been a postcard. So in a way, it's nice because aesthetically it looks really beautiful. And in a way, I noticed that after a while we also started liking more less aesthetical pictures, like this one. Or this one I found really nice, because the guy stepped with his bare foot on his toilet to take a picture of that round thing he found behind there. We also asked him, because Yuki wrote an interview with him, like really short interview, like how can we credit you? And he just sent his front and second name. Then we thought like, okay, when you look in that toilet, is it a nice thing to actually write your whole name into that? But yeah, maybe he didn't mind, or he didn't see it. That can be as well. And then there are the kind of images that are interesting because you see the sort of effort that people took to actually make them. So this is one of somebody actually climbing on top of his chair, because that way the round thing exactly fitted it in the round thing, in the circle. Yeah, and this is I think one of the easiest but most beautiful images. Like somebody that after a while thought like, hey, I can find them, but I also can create them. So that's about it.